another far-reaching conversation.
Great to be here.
Today, we're looking into the Adaptive Acquisition Framework, or AAF, within the Defense Acquisition System. We've got some material from AcqNotes on the AAF, and also the official DoD Instruction 5000.02 about how it operates.
Right, the foundational documents, essentially.
Exactly. And our goal today is really to sort of unpack this framework, understand how the DoD is trying to deliver solutions effectively on time.
And it's quite a shift, really. The ASORs emphasize getting effective, suitable, survivable, sustainable, and affordable solutions out there.
That's a lot of adjectives.
It is, but it highlights that focus on the end user and, being smart with resources from the get-go.
Okay, so let's start at the beginning. What is the Adaptive Acquisition Framework, fundamentally? It sounds like a big deal in how the DoD acquires things.
It really is the main structure supporting the defense acquisition system now.
Yeah.
Think of it as the overarching approach.
Yep.
Its purpose is to deliver those solutions we mentioned, but also to empower people, milestone decision authorities, program managers, giving them broad authority to make common sense decisions.
So less rigid, maybe, more about judgment.
Precisely. It aims for innovation and practical thinking while still maintaining discipline. It gives MDAs, other decision authorities, and PMs significant leeway.
That flexibility sounds key, especially with tech moving so fast.
Absolutely.
And I gather this framework isn't just one single process. The sources mentioned 6 different acquisition pathways. Is that how it achieves flexibility?
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
This is where the adaptive part really comes into play. Instead of forcing everything down one path, there are these 6 tailored routes.
Okay, let's maybe quickly touch on each one just to get a feel for the options. First up was urgent capability acquisition. Sounds like what it says on the tin.
Pretty much. This is for immediate, really critical needs, often things identified during operations. The big goal is speed fielding within 2 years. Think JURNs, Joint Urgent Operational Needs.
Gotcha. Fast track. Then there's the middle tier of acquisition, MTA. This one seemed interesting. The sources said it doesn't always follow the standard rule book.
Yeah, the MTA is designed for speed too, but maybe not quite as breakneck as the urgent path. Aiming for 2 to 5 years.
Okay.
It has 2 flavors. Rapid prototyping, where you want a fieldable prototype in under 5 years, and rapid fielding, aiming to start production in 6 months and field within 5 years.
And the rule book part.
Right. It deliberately steps outside some of the standard joint capabilities, integration and development system, JCID's requirements analysis, and also the detailed procedures in DoD Directive 5000.01.
Why?
To prioritize speed. Puts more emphasis on the MDA's judgment to move quickly, balancing that speed against potential risks, of course.
Makes sense. Okay, next pathway, major capability acquisition. This sounds more like the traditional way to buy big systems, maybe?
It is, generally. This is for your enduring large-scale programs. Think major defense acquisition programs, MDAPs, big complex systems.
But it's still adaptive.
Yes, that's the key. It's tailorable. An MDA can modify the standard model. For example, if a big program is heavy on software.
You could use a different approach for that part.
Exactly. The software-intensive bits could actually use the software acquisition pathway, even within that larger major capability program. Allows for more agility there.
Okay, that leads nicely to the next one. Software acquisition. This seems like a direct response to how software is actually built these days.
Absolutely. Traditional methods often just didn't fit software's fast, iterative nature. So this pathway emphasizes things like Agile, DevSecOps, Lean practices.
So quick cycles, frequent updates.
Right. Small teams delivering capabilities quickly and often, getting feedback, iterating. Much more dynamic.
Then we have defense business systems. This sounds more internal, like IT for running the DoD itself.
Precisely. This is for the IT systems that support DoD business functions, finance, contracting, logistics, HR, all that essential back office stuff.
And the focus there.
The emphasis is really on using commercial or government off-the-shelf solutions where possible. Minimal customization. Trying not to reinvent the wheel, basically.
Get something proven, adapt it slightly if needed.
Exactly. Faster, often cheaper.
And the last one mentioned was acquisition of services. That sounds incredibly broad.
It is. It covers buying contracted services, which could be anything from highly specialized engineering support to construction, IT services, maintenance, you name it.
So how do they manage that breadth?
It uses a structured 3-phase process. Plan, develop, and execute. It provides a framework for procuring these diverse service types systematically.
Okay, so those are the 6 pathways. A lot of options. What about the bigger picture? Are there overarching principles that tie this all together? Tailoring came up a lot.
Yes, tailoring is absolutely fundamental. MDAs and PMs are actively encouraged, even expected, to adapt program strategies and oversight
Based on what?
based on the specifics of the capability. How
Yes.
complex is it? What are the risks? How urgent is the need?
So not one-size-fits-all oversight either.
Right. But there's a small catch if you want to add more regulatory requirements than standard, that tailoring in needs specific MDA approval. You can't just pile things on without reason.
Got it. And you mentioned earlier combining pathways, like using the software path within a major program. Is that common?
It's definitely an option program managers have. They can strategically blend pathways if it makes sense for the program.
Like using MTA for a prototype first.
Exactly. Maybe rapid prototype, a key subsystem using MTA, then integrate it into the larger system being developed under major capability acquisition.
Requires good management, I imagine.
For sure. You need smooth transitions between the pathway segments and careful management of, the information and documentation required at each stage.
Does combining pathways change the rules, like oversight levels?
Generally, no. Combining pathways doesn't automatically change statutory thresholds for things like funding or reporting unless the law specifically allows it.
Okay. Prototyping also seemed like a big emphasis in the sources. Getting things built early.
Yes, very much so. There's early prototyping, often in research labs, focused on maturing technology and reducing technical risk before you commit big dollars.
And also for experiments.
Right, there's specific authority, 10 U.S.C. 2373, that allows for rapid acquisition just to field and test new capabilities experimentally, get them out there, see how they work in the real world.
And how does test and evaluation, T&E, fit into all this adaptation? Does testing change depending on the pathway?
It does. T&E itself is adapted for each pathway. The core goal is always the same: understand performance, inform risk management throughout the life cycle.
Development, production, sustainment.
Exactly. But the how of testing the specific methods, the level of rigor gets tailored based on the pathway's characteristics and risks. DoD Instruction 5000.89 covers the details there.
Makes sense. The sources also mention rapid acquisition contract methods. What kind of tools are we talking about?
Well, it's not just traditional contracts. To speed things up, they can leverage things like other transaction authority OTAs, which can be more flexible than standard FAR-based contracts for certain research and prototyping efforts.
FAR being the Federal Acquisition Regulation.
Correct. They can also use indefinite delivery contracts, IDIQs, and even FAR Part 12 procedures for acquiring commercial items more easily. It's about having a toolbox of contracting options.
Choosing the right tool for the job.
Precisely.
Two other things highlighted were cybersecurity and product support, starting early with those.
Absolutely critical. Cybersecurity isn't an add-on anymore. It has to be integrated from the very beginning, continuously assessed throughout planning and development. Baked in, not bolted on.
And product support. Affordability.
Same logic. Thinking about how you'll sustain the system, keep it operational and affordable over its entire life, that has to start on day one. It's essential for long-term mission effectiveness.
So who are the key players making all this happen? Briefly, who's responsible for what?
Okay, high level. The Undersecretary of Defense for Acquisition and Sustainment, USD, A&S, sets the overall policy and is the MDA for the biggest programs, ACCAD IDs, and also MTA programs that get really large.
Okay.
Then you have the Undersecretary for Research and Engineering, USD ARNI, who's the main technical advisor and oversees early prototyping policy outside of MTA.
So ANS for the overall system, R&E for the tech side early on.
Kind of, yeah. Then within the services, the Component Acquisition Executives, CAEs, implement the AAF program, executive officers, PEOs, manage portfolios of programs.
And the PM is running the show day to day.
The program manager, yes. They plan and execute the specific program. And crucially, you have the Milestone Decision Authority, the MDA, or sometimes just Decision Authority, DA, who actually makes the key decisions for that program and approves the tailored strategy.
Got it. A lot of interconnected roles.
That one.
Okay, let's try to sort of wrap our heads around what this all means. This Adaptive Acquisition Framework, it feels like a pretty major shift for the DoD.
It really is.
Yeah.
Understanding these different pathways, this emphasis on tailoring, on speed, it gives you a real insight into how they're trying to keep pace.
Keep pace with threats, with technology.
Exactly. Getting capabilities to the warfighter faster is a clear driver.
And the framework itself, just having these options, seems to signal a move away from rigid bureaucracy.
I think that's a fair interpretation. It's definitely about empowering PMs more, encouraging innovation, finding quicker routes. The specific pathways for software in the MTA really underscore that need for speed and adaptability.
So here's maybe the really interesting part. This whole structure, multiple paths, tailoring, it strongly suggests the old one-size-fits-all acquisition model is, well, maybe not dead, but certainly not the only game in town anymore.
Right. The potential is there for faster deployment, maybe more efficient use of resources, if it's managed well.
Which leads to maybe a key question, doesn't it? With all this flexibility and speed, how does the DoD ensure accountability?
That's the balancing act, isn't it?
Mhm.
Balancing speed and innovation with the necessary oversight, making sure taxpayer money is spent wisely and the capabilities delivered are actually effective and suitable long-term.
Oh.
That's the challenge inherent in this adaptive model.
So for anyone following defense matters, understanding this framework highlights the complexity, sure, but also the real effort being made to adapt.
Mm-hmm. And it makes you think, doesn't it? How will this focus on speed and different pathways maybe influence what kind of technologies get prioritized?
Yeah.
Which solutions actually make it to the field?
That's a great point. Will we see different types of capabilities emerge faster because of these tailored routes? Definitely something to watch.
For sure.
If you find these podcasts helpful, then reach far for that subscribe button.